Hi, I'm Erica Film My Phone and welcome to another video. Today we're doing another ranking video about my time in Germany, this time with the German train stations. I have a lot of thoughts to share. I use them a lot. Germany is well known for its train system, as well as Europe is generally known for that as well. But Germany is quite proud of its train stations. So let me see how much of that is warranted. I'm using mytierlist.com. Thank you to whoever made this version of this. I'm doing this because it's all words, and I just feel like I didn't want to make all those into pictures because they're all German cities, and a lot of German cities do mimic each other, especially from an outside lens. I know there might be a slight difference from one town to another, but probably no one who isn't German would be able to recognize these different towns by pictures I got off the internet, so we're doing it like this. The twos are also just straightforward. S being it has all the basic necessities and also really is cool. Basic type of things being food nearby, connections, orderly directions, making sure I'm not getting stabbed there and someone would care if I did, a free public toilet. So, things like that just really make a train station function, much like a gas station in the US. I have 20 cities or towns that I'm going to be talking about, all of which I have been at. I didn't want to do ones I haven't been to, so like Dresden is probably the biggest city in Germany that I've never been to, so I didn't put that down on this list. But yeah, we're gonna get right into it. Starting with Köln. I was in Köln for my first 2 months in Germany, and I had a great time there. My living situation was a bit far away from where the language school was, and that transit was quite long, but it was effective at doing what it needed to do. It was far. And I think it is well connected. There are some times where I get confused, but I think it's also because it was a big station. I'm putting it in B tier. Yeah, I think it's just a solid train station. It doesn't have free public toilets. It does have paid toilets, but it is a good start, and there's a lot of food options, and it never feels too chaotic, even during Carnival. Next, we're going to Lüneburg, which is where I was for the majority of the year. Adorable. It's cute. It has a McDonald's and a one sandwich place. I'm going to put in B as well. For a small train station, it does what it needs to do. It doesn't have a public toilet or a lot of accessibility, and they always put the train that I need to get on kind of far, even though all the buses kind of arrive right at the same time, which is right before that train's going to take off. So it's a bit ridiculous that they do that. I do have a soft spot for it, and I think B is a very fair tier for it. I went to Spiel, which is a board game convention. It was my second time going there. I'd done a German board games class in college, out of all things. And I got to go back this year because I had a bit of time before classes started. And I would pass through the Essen station quite often on the way to and from it. And I'm going to give it a C. And the main reason for that is that they would routinely change where my train was going. It would just change last minute to the other one. I kept remembering I needed to run between them. It was very exhausting, and I would have to, navigate with my food and figure out where I'm actually supposed to go. It was a bit frustrating sometimes to deal with that. So I'm putting it in C. It otherwise would be fine if they weren't consistently changing my trains and those trains were in similar areas. If it was just across, it would be fine, but it was a whole different area of the train station, which was just inconvenient. We now have Bochum, which is just where I was staying because Essen was booked out during that time. So I'm also putting that in C. It just is in the middle of nowhere. Like, again, if I got robbed or mugged or anything, no one would see it. There's no cameras there because Germany is all about their privacy laws. And I'm okay with that. I understand you don't want to be watched and be under a surveillance state. I get that has led to problems in the past, and I think it can lead to problems in the US as well. But I still would like a camera in one of these spaces so that, if you got jumped, it would be documented and that a crime could actually be solved. Now we're into Hamburg-Harburg, and I think that's going to go into B as well. For those of you who don't know, Hamburg-Harburg is a station in between Hamburg and Lüneburg. It was about a 40-minute trip between Lüneburg and Hamburg, and Harburg was kind of like a midway stop that was really helpful for commuting and changing trains if you needed to. It's fairly small. It doesn't have a lot going on, but there are power outlets that I was able to use there. It has some places that are more inside and some places that are just, the outside. So it can keep some of the cold off from you. It is a paid toilet experience. It's not really that much to write home about, but I think for what it does it decently. Let's get chaotic. Hamburg itself is in D tier. I have to literally scroll down to put it there. This is a train station that has given me multiple anxiety attacks. First time I visited New York City by myself to go to college in upstate New York was very stressful. Grand Central is a stress-inducing place, but I didn't know what that really meant until I went to the Hamburg Central Station. The Hamburg Central Station is the second most visited train station per day in Europe. It gets about 500,000 people through. I was thinking, is this just stress because it's just this many people? But then I realized that Grand Central, which I got accustomed to after the first couple of times going through there, it does 750,000 in a day. I later ended up commuting every single day to and from Hamburg. Maybe by the end of the second month it got better, but it was still much worse than Grand Central, and it makes me wonder why. I do like how the tracks are ordered, and there are some food options, but I think just the panic response I have to it just warrants that it has to be in that category. But those benefits do save it from being an F. Now let's talk Olsen. It's going into A tier. It has some cute art. There's mosaics on the ground and on the walls. It's really pretty. There are parts that are worn down, but for a pretty small station, it is the last stop on the Hamburg to Olsen way. I think it does it decently, and I'm not really upset about it. It still doesn't have a free public toilet, but it is nice, and there are like some nice benches there. And I don't know, it's just a nice place to be. It's okay if I get delayed there a little bit. I don't mind as much. Now we go to Bardavik, which basically is like Bochum to me, and that it's just not that much there. I was there once because I was just there after Christmas, and it got delayed, and it was kind of cold and wet at that time, so I wasn't having a good time there. But it really just is that there's nothing there. There's nothing to really talk about, so it's not an active hatred for it. It is just like, why is this a station? No one has done much with that station. I'm gonna put Buchen also in the D tier. I would have probably put it in C myself, but my friends really were like, you need to put it in D tier because it is, again, the thing of that there's nothing, but there's a lot of transfers that need to happen here. And for a station that has this many available transfers, I use Buchen, which is a small town. They had me go to Buchen instead of Hamburg so I could connect to my rapid transit train to Prague. Prague is not in Germany. It took 6 hours from there to get there. So it is kind of ridiculous for how often it transfers to big, fast trains, how limited it is, and that if your train gets delayed, which is possible with these fast trains, because even though they're fast, they might not be fast moving at all times because they might not be moving at some times. But for a train station that does offer this many transfers, it should do better. Castle Wilhelmshohe, yeah, I'm gonna put that in C. I transferred it when I was going to the Nuremberg mid-year seminar, which I enjoyed my time at the seminar just fine. Castle, we were there. I do really like that they had a transfer that we were a bit delayed to, but they waited for us. I do really appreciate that. I don't know if that was the train decision or that's just how it kind of is there, but it was nice. Actually, no, I'm gonna move it up to B because I didn't have any negative experiences there. And I think it does function well. I really haven't been there that often, but it was nice. And I'm gonna go to Nuremberg itself. I actually really like Nuremberg. There was a lot of food options there, had a lot of seating there. We went there the day after one of the DB strikes happened. It had been a lot of trains that got canceled, maybe because of that, but also the inclement weather. So it was not the best day for traveling, and I didn't have the best day traveling, but Nuremberg did not do anything that made it worse. From what I remember, there still wasn't a free public toilet, but everything else about it was pretty good. Now we go into München or Munich. Yeah, this one is weird. It's gonna go, it's C. I would have said D, but it doesn't give me the anxiety. It was kind of confusing because some of the tracks are like at a separate side, like they just don't intersect. I don't remember exactly what the numbers were, but it's like 1 through 10 are here, and then 11 through 20 are like, you can't walk to it within the station, I don't even think. So you have to kind of go around. If you were mapped to one of those stations or a different station, it is a difference. It is a 15-minute difference. It is weirdly spread out for how active it could be, and it's not nearly as active as the Hamburg one, and the Hamburg one you can walk to pretty easily when it's not jam-packed, at least. For that reason, I'm gonna put it in C. I also had bad food poisoning when I was in Munich, so it wasn't going to help it anyway, but I'm gonna say that's not a Munich public transit problem. That is a me issue, so I am going to just have it as C. Mannheim is going straight to A. Oh, I really liked Mannheim. I had this on my way to Saarbrücken, and they had so many good food options. There was plenty of spaces to sit. It felt incredibly safe. And for a station that doesn't have too much going on, it's like a mid-sized train station for Germany. It was doing just everything right. It felt correct for it, and people were very friendly. It just felt like a nice, like, safe place to transfer. Still no free public toilet. Now we have Saarbrücken. Saarbrücken is going to, I think, I'm gonna put it in D because I heard there's no pub toilets at all, not even ones that cost money. That might be a rumor. I'm just hearing that from a friend, but I went into a McDonald's I needed to use the bathroom for, which I in theory had to pay for. I was kind of rushing out and in both the times I was at the Saarbrücken station, so I don't remember it that much. I'm gonna bump it up to C. I don't have any strong reasons to hate it, so I'm not going to hate it for that. No, I think no toilets at all. Actually, it is fairly small. I am gonna put it at C because there are some of these small stations that don't have any toilets. It is at the low end of C. It should get knocked down to D if all that is true, because it ends up being the last stop for a lot of people. So if you are on a long train getting to Saarbrücken, you might really need to go. All right, now we have Stuttgart. Stuttgart is going to not to C, not to D, to F. Now this might change in a year or so. When I went, which is March 2024, it was under construction. Not the main terminal, but all the way to get to connecting subways and other public transit. For a larger city that has a lot of traffic, this should be on lock. Berlin does that very well. We'll get to that. But Stuttgart does it poorly. I had to walk a solid 10 minutes without that good of signage to figure out where I was going. I had to go out into the pouring rain. It should be covered going from a train to underground. How am I going above ground again? That doesn't make any sense for me. The construction path was very weird. So in the future, when it is constructed, maybe I can do a rejudge, but I'm also not in Germany right now, so I can't. But maybe it will get bumped up a bit. It also didn't have Wi-Fi, which it doesn't have to have a Wi-Fi necessarily. I would consider that a basic thing, especially for me as a foreigner in Europe, because I had my German phone that worked in all circumstances, but also just worked kind of poorly in general. But I had my regular phone that I really like, that I film on, that was only available in airplane mode plus Wi-Fi. It's nice when I'm gonna meet someone to be like, oh yeah, I'm here at this exact time. I have Wi-Fi, I can tell you. I could not do that there. Maybe it was just down or something, but like it was just only very finicky enough that I remember it still all these months later. Now we have Berlin. I'm gonna put Berlin, it's like high. I'm gonna put it in B because I think A over dramatizes it. It's not always the most intuitive where you're going. There are good signs for it, but there's so many levels of it. I think just a big train station is just not going to get an A from me because it's going to be overwhelming regardless. So they do have a lot of food options. They have a lot of stores that you can take your time. I got my Swatch battery refresh when I was there, which if you don't know, you can get those changed for free if you do own a Swatch already. That's just a free service that they do worldwide that I learned. I'm not sponsored by them, but if you do already own a Swatch, you can totally do that. But yeah, Berlin is nice. Their internet normally works pretty decently. For a well-traveled train station, it definitely is not nearly as overwhelming as Hamburg. It's not as stress-inducing. People don't crowd nearly as much. That is the problem. At Hamburg, they don't know personal space as much. Maybe Berlin, because they experience more tourists. Some of them do know personal space because most Germans, I'm sorry, stereotypically and in my personal experience, do not know personal space well at all. Next, we're going to Magdeburg. Magdeburg is going to be a B for me. I had some smooth, easy connections there for most of my times that I had gone through there. The one time that I didn't was actually for Magdeburg Neustadt, which is over here. We're going to put that in the, I'm going to put it in the, I don't know, it's really like there's nothing there. I guess I've been putting nothing there at all and not that big of a transition phase. I've been putting that in C, but I did miss my connection once because the train was late coming to Berlin, so we missed it there. But Neustadt was meh. Magdeburg was fine and looked decent in there. I really didn't spend much time there because my train was always waiting for me. Now we have Fulda. So I only had my train go through here. It's a less personal thing and more of a friendship thing. A friend of mine hates Fulda because he got stranded there. And so I'm going to put an F for Fulda. I would also similarly do an F for Frankfurt. I really don't like the Frankfurt station. Looking at this now, it really doesn't make sense in the F tier. I would like it in the section of like, you know, the F ones go to the F. But no, I think I have to put it in D. I don't really hate it as much as I said. I don't like where it's at, and there's some things that are annoying about it. It wasn't nearly as overwhelming though. I think there's enough light that comes in that makes it feel a bit better. Hamburg station, the way that it's constructed, it definitely doesn't let as much light in for all of the windows it has, because it has a lot of windows, but I think they're tinted or something, and so it feels dark even during the daytime, especially for a building like most German buildings that kind of teeter the line between being inside and outside. Like there's tunnels and there's openings that don't have doors at all or some way to close it. So it is feeling pretty cold there in the winter or very hot in the summer. So it is an odd design choice for Hamburg to do that. I think Frankfurt does feel a little more open, and I didn't go during any time that was extremely cold, so it wasn't something I noticed. I'm gonna put it in C. Yeah, because I think it's as weird in terms of its layout and for me feeling a weird stress about it as I feel for the Munich being in the different points. But yeah, this is the tier list. As you notice, there's nothing in S because there's not a single free public toilet there. We'll think, oh, he just won't get over it. I'm sorry. If you need a pee or you need to do something more than that, you should have the opportunity to do that for free. Absolutely. Especially in a country that has free healthcare. If you are going to take care of me when I'm just sick, what if I'm just sick and need to go to the bathroom several times? What about that? When we have vomit all over the public stations, I did once, the food poisoning. And maybe I would have felt more comfortable if there was more free alternatives, because I'm not going to pay $1 to go. Maybe any public mess would be reduced if you had the opportunity to. The poor are not going to pay €1 to go to the bathroom. They're just going to go find a tree or just an alley where no one's looking. And that's why it feels unhygienic in some of these major cities. There's not a place for someone to discreetly put deodorant or cologne on, change a baby's diaper. This is still healthcare, and this is day-to-day healthcare. And the fact that you don't have drinking water free to the public everywhere and commonly accessible are two of the most ridiculous things. Some of the basic things that we need as humans is to go to the bathroom and to drink water. So yeah, this concludes my miniature tirade, but I think it's hypocritical of a community that says, oh, we care about people's health and well-being, and not taking care of some of the most basic necessities that most people have to do multiple times on a daily basis. I will say that most train stations I've been to otherwise that do have these free public toilets also have a lot of the amenities that I'm referencing here. So it's not me saying this free public toilet is more important than anything else, but you are not getting 100% on your exam if you do miss a question. But yeah, I think a lot of things being mid or slightly above average, yeah. I mean, a lot of these are nothing things. I did want to include some of my smaller stations because I went into them to get some representation, even though they're not getting love necessarily. You'll also notice the Lower Saxony bias. I was living in Lower Saxony for the majority of my time in Germany. Yeah, let me know all of your thoughts down in the comments below in English oder auf Deutsch. Ich spreche beides. So yeah, I would love to hear all your thoughts, especially from both locals and foreigners. I'd love to hear. Because, yeah, I had some thoughts and they needed to be addressed. Olsen, Nuremberg, and Mannheim being in the top 3. That feels right. I want to put Lüneburg there just because I love Lüneburg as a whole of a city. But your train station is not the best thing about you. It's perfectly all right. And I will say, A and B, I didn't have any problems really going there. It's just separating, my favorites from the rest of what's good. And C just largely just being fine. And then D and F, well, So this tier list thing also became like a poll that I sent to some of my friends in the group chat. And so they weighed in on their experiences here. You can see where they differ and where they're similar. I think that's about it. So if you like this video, please like it. Please comment down below what you'd like me to do next on my channel. Please subscribe to my channel if you're not already and you'd like to be. And thanks for watching. This is TurtleStormer. Catch you later. Get out of the dark and get into my